You're listening to DraftKings Network.
You know that sound. It's the sound of money hitting your Venmo account, a friend paying you back, or maybe it's getting cash back from your favorite business when you pay with the Venmo debit card, or it's realizing you can pay with Venmo at checkout at thousands of brands. Now, there are so many more ways to answer the question, what's your Venmo? Download Venmo today. The Venmo MasterCard is issued by the Bancorp Bank N.A. pursuant to license by MasterCard International Incorporated. Dosh Cashback terms apply.
You know what's smart? Enjoying a fresh gourmet meal at home that you didn't have to cook. Meet Factor, your loophole in the laws of mealtime. Chef-crafted meals delivered with a tap, ready in just 2 minutes. You know what's even smarter? Treating yourself without cheating your goals. Factor is dietitian approved, chef prepared, and you plated. Pretty smart, huh? Refresh your routine and eat smart with Factor. Learn more at factormeals.com.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
This is
behind the bit.
This is behind the bit.
This is behind
the bit. We take you back to a better time in the show's history, a time, at least for me, where I was happiest because we were at ESPN.
All right, go enjoy the party.
Take care.
I'm
Good
sorry I
talking to
couldn't get you in trouble. I was trying so hard, Mickey.
Best from Tim, huh?
Stay white. Come on, I meant that in the most loving way possible.
Yeah, the backstory on that is funny because Mickey Arison is the owner of the Miami Heat at the Heat Championship rally that had a whole lot of people at it. The slogan for that year was white hot, and they won the championship. And he was nervous speaking in front of people because he's not really a public person that way. And instead of saying to everybody, stay white hot, he said to a whole lot of white people in a very divided Miami, stay white, in sort of echoing white supremacist rally kind of way, which is not really what you're going for. And
I'm certain he wasn't going for that.
Stay white is not, Miami's very ethnic, Miami's very black and brown and also white, but to tell a bunch of people to stay white and to have it sound kind of Aryan was not the Miami Heat's best moment.
He just slipped up. Instead of saying stay white hot, he told his fans to stay white. And our show seized on that. And we would use that as a sounder. It would be in something called the end of show montage. It was just a sound whenever we would suey people. Say white was a part of it. So that was his first interview with us since Dan had made a mockery of that one public speaking mishap. And that's why you hear someone in the background go, oh, reacting to it. But Dan, credit to him, told Mickey to his face to stay white.
Mickey Arison is a friend of yours, and really where it gets tricky, and I think probably why he might be a little bit upset, is he realized he was embarrassed enough already. He had made the mistake. He meant to say, stay white hot. He said, stay white. He doesn't need to hear it from his friend.
We played
on the radio.
it a lot. We played it a lot. We could have played it less.
Right.
We could be talking about it less now. I don't know that he's had a worse, a more embarrassing public moment. So to have me bringing it up all the time, less than pleasant for him.
Actually, I have a funny story about that. So Mickey, who's the owner of Carnival Corporation, was showing off one of his boats, one of his new boats. And like the deck and the chairs were all white, you know? Like, and I referenced it to everybody quote tweeting on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, I don't care. It was in quotes, I think. Stay white. Apparently Mickey forgot that he said that and didn't get the joke. I guess he thought it was a kind of a racial comment. And he texted Dan like, well, what the is your producer doing here? Like, what's going on? Stay white. And Dan went up to me and said, hey, Mickey is asking about what you're saying here. Like, what's going on? I was like, you don't remember what he said at the parade? He said, stay white. And I brought it up as a reference. And Dan laughed about it, so he had to explain that to him, which was pretty funny, I bet.
But yes, I remember Mickey Arison not being happy about that. I don't remember the
But
particular
that's something that
details.
stays with you. Like, you don't forget that. Like,
Yeah.
Roy sending that and him saying, I forgot about it. And then him call, but
yeah.
he called you?
Yes.
He did?
Yeah. He doesn't like that we had that much fun with that. Why would he like that? No.
The amount of calls Dan has taken over the years.
Yes.
Because one of us has done something.
Yes.
I'm so proud of Roy.
A lot of those. I've had a lot of those.
For me, mostly.
Mostly you, yes.
Was there any reaction to it? Any backlash?
Oh, we laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed. It was hilarious. As far as it was just us. I don't know about anybody else, but it was just us. Mickey Arison yelled that out as he was leaving the podium.
Greg Cote just said during the break that if Jared Goff wins MVP, he will indeed shave his eyebrows. He just made that pledge. Amin was made very happy by that pledge. We need to stop playing the stay white thing. We need to stop doing that because it's gonna make, I promised Mickey Arison we wouldn't do very much of that anymore.
Stay white.
It's the echo, man.
The echo takes it to other levels. Stay white.
Well, it's streets with thousands of black people on them. It's a parade. He's speaking at a parade, and it's Miami. It's the center of Miami. It's right across the street, and he's a nervous public speaker.
Stay white.
I've made a mistake. I'm doing a lot of apologizing today. There are some secrets here to the doing of the show, and I hope Mike Ryan starts revealing some of those in the second half of our oral history. And, there are little delights I notice all the time. I will follow Billy's face anywhere. It made the show difficult to do yesterday because he was a dinosaur. And during the break, I'll follow Mike's face on something that I see in enthusiasm, but I don't know entirely what it is. And clearly, I aired last segment talking too much football quarterback because I lost Mike Ryan last 10 minutes of that segment because I can see on his face there was something involving Pat Burrell that had delighted him, and I needed to follow that wherever it is that it went, and I failed to follow that because I saw that you and Jeremy, I lost him entirely because he was thinking 2001 University of Miami baseball.
1996 Pat Burrell season, one of the greatest freshman seasons in the history of college baseball, 484 batting average. Pat Burrell was incredible, and I think you owe him an apology for not even considering him here when you're talking about Cam Ward having the greatest individual season in UM athletics history.
Now, Mike, you said one of the greatest freshman seasons ever, and then you said he batted 484. Is there another freshman season you could think of anywhere that competes with that?
Well, I wanted to hedge my bet specifically in that sport because, I don't know college baseball. If you go to college baseball, you have to play like two seasons,
Mark Cote
right?
will bat 500 in a college baseball season. Like the very best of college baseball players will put up some ridiculous batting averages.
There's one player, and I can go back and find it, who hit over 550 in a single season, and that is the single season leader. But as a freshman, to that point, no one had ever, as a freshman, hit for a 480 batting average or higher. So Pat Burrell had set the single-season freshman record.
So I was absolutely hooked on that. You mentioned the next oral history episode, what we do with that. We're actually hitting pause on the narrative storytelling of the oral history this week because we wanted to have a special halftime episode where we focus on all the wonderful co-hosts that have joined our show, all the talents that have sat in the seat that Greg is sitting in right now. It's an episode that shines a spotlight on Amin and Greg and others.
Wow.
One of them is Pablo Torre, and he has a new podcast. It's not so new anymore. Pablo Torre Finds Out. It is getting a lot of critical acclaim. He does real inspired journalism there, and as our journalistic conscience here at Meadowlark Media, can you tell me what you make of everything happening with Mark Zuckerberg and whatever it is Zuckerberg is doing these days as Elon Musk tries to buy America and 4 people are going to have the finances to be able to run the entire world here in about 6 minutes?
Yeah, it's a great story. It's a great story that's founded superficially in Mark Zuckerberg. And we did an episode about this early on, 2023, an episode about Mark Zuckerberg falling in love with mixed martial arts and Brazilian jiu-jitsu. You've sort of seen I've seen his, since college, his visual appearance, his style evolve. He was one of the most awkward people on the planet. If you ever seen that video about him talking about Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce, you know that? And he's since sort of restyled himself into this MMA guy. And what he's doing now with Dana White is, look, it's very transparent. Just on a political level, like Dana White is a surrogate for Donald Trump. Facebook, like Amazon, like every multinational corporation in America, is figuring out how do we now deal with the guy, the president, who wants us to, show our fealty to him. And so Dana White being on the board of Meta is shocking only if you don't follow that story. But I think there's a bigger story about content moderation here. So, wait, look, this is going to be me talking for a while, guys. You want to make fun of me now? Should I wait? Should I just keep going?
Well, thank you. I'm glad that you actually stopped yourself here because Mike had stopped listening. He's still
actually
thinking
going down
about
there to
Pat
talk about
Burrell.
the IMG Academy head coaching hire that Bill Belichick just made.
Okay, yeah, all right, yeah. He's not interested in what it is that you're talking about as it relates to Dana White and collapsing systems of all kinds. But
yes.
you want to continue?
Yeah, like the whole idea of free speech, right? That's the whole platform. And so content moderation, when it was not Donald Trump as the president, when the culture was in the other part of the pendulum swing, content moderation, I used to say this, was the reason why all of these tech CEOs, the richest people in the world, were stressed out about their jobs. Because they had to do the hard act of basically being a Supreme Court justice and trying to figure out what speech is allowed, what is dangerous, what is free, what's okay, what's not, what's harassment, what's abuse. It's an impossible question that literally the Supreme Court has really hard, really hard times trying to solve.
All right.
And what?
No, I want to stop you for just a second, just 1 second, okay? I know there are a lot of global things to be worried about, and one of them, I don't know whether it goes in your top 10 or not, is the fact that the richest people in the world are getting even richer as we create more desperation between the haves and the have-nots. And I read the other day that Jeff Bezos had a $600 million wedding in Aspen, and I was wondering if any...
He came out and really, in a way that he hasn't publicly...
It was fake?
Slammed the hell out of that story.
Okay, so there are no details being reported about a $600 million wedding, because when I saw that, these guys are already funding things that cost more than that to just do space competitions.
I love the idea that he says, whoever said I had a $600 million wedding is outright lying. It's preposterous. We're just dating.
I mean, yeah, he didn't volunteer the number, but look, there's a lot of online conjecture about Jeff Bezos, and he's never really been that compelled to come out as strongly as he did. So I'm guessing something was off there. When the reported detail was $600 million, he came out on social media and blasted it.
But the through line here is that they are coming out strongly, and I mean that literally. Like, Jeff Bezos is jacked now. Mark Zuckerberg works out. Like, these guys have become the other side of the cultural aisle when it comes from Nerdville now to, like, we are jocks. And what I was going to say about the content moderation thing is simply that they don't have to worry about that question anymore. Because now content moderation is what they always wanted it to be, which was just satiating the people who could get them in trouble. Mm-hmm. Content moderation was always about how do we protect our own asses. And now the people holding them to account are not some larger democracy with sensitivity towards minority groups. It's just the one guy. And so on the board of Meta is Dana White. We know his general approach to quote unquote free speech. And we know that he's now dissolving, Mark Zuckerberg is, the board that he had tried to install that would be a pseudo Supreme Court in terms of figuring out what's okay and what's not. So everybody can stop pretending that they cared about content moderation. And now it's just straight appeasement, which is, again, predictable, but also very funny visually.
Pablo, one of the most shocking things I think about that video was the part where he says, in part, this decision is because, well, we saw the election, like he outright says it, like, the other people are smoking, like they don't care about this stuff. They, America wants this. And it's one thing to say, hey, I don't want the burden of censorship. It's one thing to say, hey, we're going from, removing content to reducing mistakes in removing content. Like all those things, I think you can make a rational argument for and see like, yeah, that makes sense. But when he blatantly says, yeah, the election results also let us know that like the times are changing, that was the part I was shocked that he would admit out loud.
Yeah, and by the way, like I don't have a good solution, right? Content moderation is in fact really hard. Look at Elon's approach to X. His approach has been a winning one, a quote unquote popular one, to go to the rhetoric that Amin was just citing there. I don't have a good solution. It's literally why I keep on repeating this. The Supreme Court has to rule over these free speech issues. There is no easy standard for what is fire in a crowded theater versus abuse of minorities. Mm-hmm. It's incredibly hard, and it's a case-by-case basis, and it's not best left to tech companies. But to what Amin is saying, like they're basically saying, yeah, look, Trump won and people don't care anymore about this. And I think that is, I guess, statistically narrowly true. He won a majority that is more narrow than the rhetoric suggests. But also, I think it's broadly true because everyone else is just exhausted. It's exhausted. Everybody here, I think, is tired of the argument about can this person say this or not. Even people who care about the trampled upon smaller groups in this country that are being, not just punched down upon, but like roundhouse kicked off of platforms. All of us are like, I guess that's just what it is. And I don't blame you.
The other thing, Pablo, is there's also degrees to all of this, right? There's degrees. When you say people shouldn't be allowed to say this, one of the things that's been happening over the last couple of days is as these fires are raging in California, in the past, Twitter had been like a great resource for people in these crisis moments of where to get help, where to avoid, all these kind of informational things. And instead, Twitter has been flooded because the algorithm is flooding the timelines with shit that's not really relevant to people trying to get information in time of a crisis. And that's kind of the thing is like, it's one of these things like, hey, you should say unhoused instead of homeless, versus actual actionable things that people need out of these devices.
Yeah, it's one thing if it's just, hey, that's a sex worker, not a prostitute. Right. And then it's like, okay, let's, whatever. We're all exhausted by that. But when the people in charge aren't good at surfacing important, necessary, helpful speech, that's where you're like, it maybe is a problem that all of this, that all of us, that everybody everywhere is working for a tech company whose incentives are not actually in the direction of the broader benefit of human beings, but rather the self-interest of the people who run these platforms. That would be an issue to me.
The symbolism is a bit amazing that we would be having any kind of conversation about America literally being on fire, and you go to the internet for help in an emergency, and it's people arguing about whether we've got cancel culture. Like, I mean, it's asinine art when you're looking. When I'm calling friends in California, very worried about them, and they're like, it's so much worse than even the video could possibly show you, because you've got hurricane winds blowing fire all over parts of California that weren't expecting fire of any kind, and they can't put anything out. And we sit here and make it about culture wars or politics.
What a year 2024 was. Happy New Year's, everybody. New Year is this week. And some of you are going to be counting down to the new year with a lot of friends and a lot of family around. And that's a lot of palates. How do you make everybody happy? You make them happy by making New Year's time a Miller time. It's beer with taste you know you can depend on that won't let anybody down. No games, no gimmicks, just great beer for people who like beer. In all my favorite moments of 2024, Miller Lite was right there by my side. Responsibly, of course. Miller Lite is brewed for taste. It hits different than other light beers. Simple ingredients like malted barley for rich, balanced toffee note flavors, and that iconic golden color that we all know and love. The original light beer since 1975 and still the very best one. Miller Lite, great taste, 96 calories. Go to MillerLite.com/Dan to find delivery options near you, or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer. Tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.
Yeah, sure thing. Hey, you sold that car yet?
Yeah, sold it to Carvana.
Oh, I thought you were selling to that guy.
The guy who wanted to pay me in foreign currency, no interest, over 36 months? Yeah, no. Carvana gave me an offer in minutes, picked it up, and paid me on the spot. It was so convenient.
Just like that.
Yeah?
No hassle.
None.
That is super convenient.
Sell your car to Carvana and swap hassle for convenience. Pickup fees may apply.
Hey, Happy New Year, friends. It's 2025, and a new year can mean new opportunities. For a lot of you out there, I imagine you spent the last couple of weeks sitting and thinking how to make your 2025 special, different, and set yourself in the right direction. One way that you can do so is actually by following my boss, Dan Le Batard's path, and starting your own business. You might have a lot of questions. How do I get started? How do I come up with a brand? How do I sell stuff to people? What am I even going to sell? Just take a deep breath. Shopify has got you. Shopify makes it simple to create your brand, open for business, and get your first sale. Get your store up running easily with thousands of customizable templates. No coding or design skills required. All you need to do is drag and drop. But I know you're thinking, what happens if I don't act now? Will I regret it? What if someone beats me to the idea? Don't kick yourself when you hear this again in a year because you didn't do anything now. With Shopify, your first sale is closer than you think. Established in 2025. Has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Batard. All lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Batard to start selling with Shopify today. Shopify.com/Batard.
Dan Le Batard.
Billy, somebody has written in here, I need way more.
I'm sorry.
I just said in his headset, haven't you been to all of them too?
It sounded like you were speaking aloud. My bad. Totally on me. That's 100% on me. All right. Yeah.
Stugotz.
But that goes without saying.
Right.
That it couldn't have happened.
Well, now he said
it.
He didn't say it. He said it again. Yeah,
Greg,
My apologies are sincere.
Greg, why? Greg.
Yeah.
Greg.
He apologized. I mean,
Greg.
Sincerely.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
Let me move off of this into a sports thing that I want to get Mike and Lucy to. This happened during the break, and I'm just curious because we're adding more and more games. We want more and more football. As fire burns and America needs the distraction of football more, and football becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, and all the rules change, and college coaches don't even want to be in charge because really I'm going to fight everybody over money during desperate times. Okay, that seems hard. Leonard Hamilton at FSU got sued by 6 players because they say, hey, we're owed $1.5 million in NIL and you haven't given it to us, and where is it? And here's a boycott. We're not coming to practice. I imagine stuff like this is happening all over the place if people are trying to get control of things and the rules keep changing. When you guys saw Leonard Hamilton coach Michael Jordan, did a great job at the University of Miami, when no one did a great job at the University of Miami, has been kind of a titan at basketball at FSU. They don't have any preordained right to always be good, and they're often good because of Leonard Hamilton. He's been there for a long time. For an old man to get hit with this particular problem of guys aren't coming to practice, where's my $1.5 million? Isn't that happening everywhere right now?
No, you'd hear about it. You heard about this. We have social media, which if you're feeling helpless and people aren't paying attention to you, you know that you could put a tweet out there and websites, including in the college football space, would gobble that up. So no, I don't think it's happening everywhere. I've heard of like a handful of times. We had Jaden Rashada sue Florida and even Billy Napier directly. Now, Jaden Rashada, who's had a checkered history, has entered the portal once again. But no, I don't think it's that big of an issue because it's not really something that we're not all searching for. That is great clickbait.
Also, $1.5 million sounds like a pretty small number for a major college program to cover, right?
For college basketball, it seems like a hefty number.
That's a funny thing for Greg Cote to say.
Seems like a real hefty number.
I mean, you got it. With everything happening now, if you're at a major school like Michigan or Texas, $1.5 million is nothing.
College basketball, men's college basketball, that is a really hefty number.
And especially, you got to think about it. We're not talking about Duke basketball here. Florida State.
Multiple guys, too. Like multiple guys.
Six guys. 6 players.
So it's $250 a piece. $250 a piece.
It's half your team. It's going to be half your starters, right?
Wait,
half your roster.
Wait, the total is one? Or
total one. Okay. Oh, we got a new fine. We got a new fine on the Venmo Fine Bucket. Is that your phone?
No. Yes, it is.
It is literally
what happened? I blame the show because here's what happened. my phone was off to begin the show.
Yeah.
But then when I was sent into the penalty box,
yeah.
I almost said the game room.
But you understand you actually have to pay this now because, like, it's one thing people say that they don't have cash, but now that we have the Venmo Fine Bucket.
How much do I owe?
Look, this is the new fine system. Venmo Bucket Fine Chart. $1 for a mistake, $2 for coughing or phlegming, $3 for pestering of any kind, $5 for tone, $7 for not listening. I didn't give you the $7 fine before when you weren't listening, but $10 for a phone interruption, according to the now sponsored Venmo Bucket. These fines will be paid. If you do not pay it, it will be taken out of your paycheck. They will now be...
Now, Dan,
you're going to. This is sponsored now. We can't mess with the money.
And
we
who
can't
gets the money?
We can't mess with the sponsors. It goes into the fine bucket, and then if it gets picked at the grid of death anytime next year, a lucky employee gets all of the fine money.
Now, Dan, I have a clarifying question because as you see here on the sheet, the fine print says fines are doubled on Tuesdays because of Greg Cote Tuesdays, but Greg didn't come in on Tuesday. This Thursday acts as a proxy for the Tuesday.
Yes.
I would argue that the fine should still be doubled.
No, I would not. It invalidates the entire fine, quite frankly.
No, it doesn't. Just give $10 to the Venmo.
Venmo.
Do you know?
Forward $10 to the fine bucket. Thank you. All right, done.
That's not how that works.
Is that a note to yourself?
That's not how.
That's not how it works.
How does it work?
That's not even how you fake pretending like you know how it works.
Hey, Venmo, cover me.
By
here.
the way,
now you got
Plus, I'm ill.
Venmo, cover me.
The fine print of that says if someone is under the weather, then
You're just making
it's
things up.
invalidated.
We saw the fine print.
Okay, all right.
It's $10.
To create a bit of a through line here, I think so. Greg is on one end of the how old do you think this guy is spectrum. I do think Leonard Hamilton is shockingly old.
Yeah,
yes, he's about Greg's age.
Yeah.
In fact, you know what?
He's 76. He's crazy.
He's older than Greg Cote by 6 years.
That.
Yes.
Wow.
That is
Good for him.
Imagine that, my dad said.
Good for you, Leo.
Black don't crack.
I didn't know he was that old, quite frankly. He looks good. He does.
He looks incredible.
Yeah.
Mark Jones is also on this list, by the way. ESPN announcer Mark Jones. Do you guys know how old Mark Jones is? Have you done this already?
No. How old?
How old do you think Mark Jones is?
49.
I was going to say.
Mark Jones is 63 years old.
Wow.
What?
Yeah.
You're lying.
That is crazy.
He looks
But also,
49.
Mark Jones is a little too suspiciously in good shape.
Put it on the poll, please, at Le Batard Show. Is Mark Jones a little too suspiciously in shape? Or are you shocked that Mark Jones is 63 years old? Are you shocked that Leonard Hamilton is 76 years old? And put all three of them together. Which of these shocks you the most? Because I want to put that in front of you guys. You guys seem to be
Mark
surprised by
Jones.
Mark Jones.
That
But
is
Leonard
wild.
Hamilton being 76 floored me. That's $2 more for Greg Cote.
No, because I pressed the red button.
He did.
Yeah, that's
did.
the clock
Thank you.
button. Yeah,
That's true.
Well, it doesn't say.
You owe money for the fine bucket for misrepresenting me.
It just says $2 for coughing. It doesn't say anything about a microphone or anything. It just says coughing.
Can we
phlegm,
actually
$2.
pay this thing though? Because we have a corporate sponsor now. We actually have to go through
thank
with
you.
these
So
things.
listen, okay, because I'm tired of this and I'm fed up of
Venmo's
not having
fun.
any control over my company. Look, our sponsors make us the thing that gets to exist when nothing like this exists. Okay. You're disrespecting. Venmo pays for that by not doing this correctly and by ignoring this. We've had to put this system in place so that you respect the sponsor. Right. And I'm not joking when I say if you do not pay these fines, they will be taken out of your paycheck.
I am going to pay.
Okay, but what I want to address with all of you, stand down, is that Greg Cote just decided, because I know his son is annoyed by this as a life thing. The furthest that Greg Cote has come in technology is doing this to his phone. Venmo, do this for me.
Yes, that's the way it should work.
That is, Chris, you have seen that your father treats his phone as a tape recorder and an assistant that sends messages for him because his fat fingers are too lazy to type. Where's your back in my day?
It's not Tuesday. That's a Tuesday.
So you have
joint.
one?
Nah, he's right.
Thank you.
It's not Tuesday.
You know what else? You know what else? We got Glue 6. We're making you appear eyebrowless.
There we go.
All right?
Okay.
That's going to happen.
We have Mina coming up in the next hour. During that interview, you will see in the bottom right my dad losing his eyebrows.
Lucy, are you going to do this for us? Are you going to administer this?
Yes, I've been watching TikTok tutorials on how to get rid of an eyebrow. We are missing some of the things we need. CVS was lacking in the red color corrector. So it may not be perfect, but I'm going to do my very best. I've watched 4 TikTok videos, so I'm basically an expert on the matter.
Thank you. So can I now get your opinion when Mike is saying that this isn't a normal thing with Leonard Hamilton? What kind of chaos is unseen, no matter what social media we're talking about, in a no rules type of governance where these coaches are getting a little bit overwhelmed by once the players have total freedom and everyone can grab at money, this stuff is going to get contaminated and feel from afar like it can be corrupt.
Some of this that I think people don't realize is a lot of these schools actually export out their NIL operations. And there are legit companies who run like Penn State's NIL, just for an example. So when things like this happen, those NIL organizations that are literally businesses in charge of running that school's operation, they have lawyers and legal teams in place so that schools are protected. I don't believe that every school has sort of like an outsourced NIL, but like it offers a little bit more protection where I think you haven't really seen this that much. Like Rashada's a good case. This is a good example. But for the most part, like schools have these contracts in place where it's like, okay, well, if you're here, this is how you're going to get money. And if you have to do appearances in this county to prevent people from transferring and whatnot. But like there are legal protections in this. I don't know what Florida State's NIL operation is, but most schools protect themselves.
Well, you mentioned Florida State, and I think it's important context to know that we find out a lot in the public space about Florida State's historically NIL program because it's not very buttoned up. Look, there's people argue about money in Fortune 500 companies. So a lot of these issues you never hear about. I thought this deal was this way. Like all that stuff stays in house, and it's the key to having a good collective is making sure no one knows about this stuff and being able to find solutions to these disagreements when they do pop up. Because you're talking in some cases about hundreds and hundreds of athletes that are receiving NIL from one collective. If you know about it, if you get essentially held hostage the way that FSU's collective was over the Orange Bowl, it shows you bad leadership within that collective as well.
Pablo?
If I can distill this down a little simpler, I think there's a solution here. They should just use Venmo. Because on Venmo, there's an awesome feature that I think Greg would enjoy. When you have to label what you're paying someone for, whether you be a college coach who owes back pay to a new generation of athletes, or a 70-year-old man, apparently, who is delinquent in all sorts of ways. You pick an emoji, Greg, and that emoji can signal with some degree of privacy and resentment why you're paying this. So I encourage you to select the emoji for your fines in the new Venmo regime. And
what is the final tally on Greg Cote's fining? The $10 phone interruption, that are we letting him slide on the $7 not listening? Because now the fine bucket is going to be a richer thing, right? Somebody stole. I'm still offended by that. I don't know how we haven't had an investigation. An employee at this company stole hundreds of dollars that were in the fine bucket. Yes, there were hundreds of dollars.
Wait, that was never solved?
Never solved. And I think Bob, the engineer, got a bad rap. It was a difficult time at the Clevelander. I'm pretty sure that a lot of people were accusing him. I would never.
It wasn't Bob.
It was. I would never.
It wasn't Bob.
Look, I'm pretty sure Stugotz did it. I'm pretty sure.
I mean, statistically speaking, yeah, that sounds right.
Pablo, what is coming up on Pablo Torre Finds Out? I will tell the people, again, it's unusual to win this many awards. There aren't actually a lot of non-athletes coming into the sports podcast space, which is very popular, and having a hit thing, and he has a hit thing. And he's got this, he's got the blue check mark army. They run with him.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Oh, the MSNBCers.
The elites.
The liberal elites. It's a country club podcast.
The blue check marks are now the other side, by the way.
That's right. Well, forgive me. My information's dated. My bad. Thank you.
The ivory tower. Yeah, no check mark anymore. Tuesday's episode, which I encourage you to enjoy. If you guys know the worst sports commercial in the history of sports television, the sportsmanship commercial.
Oh, no. I thought it was What a Pro Wants.
I took the ball, coach.
Yeah, exactly, Amin. This kid, Alex, went into hiding because he was so dunked upon by the entire internet that he has been hidden. We have found him. We brought him into a studio. It took literal years to acquire his trust. That was Tuesday's episode. It takes us from the Supreme Court, which, again, I keep on saying for real reasons, to the Dalai Lama, to Dame Lillard. All of that happened. Today we have an episode about explaining like the whole debate and the science underneath the trans athletes thing for people who maybe actually have skepticism about the ivory tower. It's for you. Then tomorrow, my arch nemesis, Dan, Nick Wright, noted terrible person, is joined by his co-host Kevin Wildes, and they join me on tomorrow's show to talk about the art of giving takes. So screw him, but he's also on the show tomorrow.
I can tell Pablo spent a lot of time in Miami and around us because he said, Dale, Llama.
By the way, Pitbull. Pitbull, how old do you think Pitbull is?
Oh, he's got to be 50
Now anything is possible. I'm going to say 67.
Armando is, I'm going to say 57.
No way this number.
Just grading off of the Mark Jones curve.
We're not playing the game well.
I'm saying he's 51.
28.
I'm going to say he's in his 40s. Come on.
17.
Pitbull's 43, guys.
Shit, he's
so right in the middle.
He's younger than I am?
Young man.
He's 20
Pitbull's
years younger than Mark Jones.
Pitbull is younger than Amin and Mark Jones.
And me.
Shocking.
Pablo, thank you for being on with us. We appreciate the time. Pablo Torre Finds Out is the name of the podcast. I encourage you to listen to it because it is very different. There are not a lot of people, or there's not anybody doing exactly what he is doing. What you still want to? I can't.
I just continue. I continue to distrust all of you, but I appreciate the time.
Okay. Thank you. I thought I already said goodbye to you.
You can learn about our show's history with Pablo Torre on this week's upcoming episode of The Oral History.
Yes, I'm sure he'll be listening and can't wait to just hear either his voice or something about him. Pablo Torre, basically what he is doing with Pablo Torre Finds Out is just going to the depths of his narcissism and then...
Okay, we've gotten further from the compliment phase, and I think we can just end it. Probably just end it there. Yeah.
I'm really excited about this episode with Kevin Wildes, who used to be my boss when I worked on The Jump, and Nick Wright.
I'm happy that you mentioned that because Kevin Wildes is like an iconic producer.
Yeah, I don't know how many people know that.
And like all producers, fell in love with the camera and microphone.
And a microphone, absolutely. They all come over this side, don't they? Except for Matthew Kugler. But I also stand with Pablo in that Nick Wright is a horrible person.
You're sitting.
And so,
Thank you.
Well,
You're also sitting, yeah.
I stand hunched over with Pablo, and that Nick Wright is a well, there's another fine.
$2.
No,
he pushed the button.
He pushed the button.
It just says
push the
coughing.
button.
No.
It just
Yeah,
says
he pushed the
coughing.
button.
It
Come
doesn't
on.
say
We
the
gotta do a little something for him. He's battling here.
Thank you, Mike.
He did the right thing. Now, if he just coughed right into the microphone, then that's a fine. But
I'm just saying, I'm trying to go by what the sponsor wants.
we're actually trying to get some payoffs here. So let's give him a win and let's get our $10.
So that's the barter? Like if you just
if he's reaching for the cough button.
Why is there a cough button there? If it's not to be depressed.
No,
You're supposed to suppress a cough a little bit
press.
so it's not picked up by the other ones.
It's supposed to be pressed, not
He was in the middle of making his point, then we all worry for you. It's a tricky.
You should worry for me.
What?
Why did you say that like that?
I don't understand why he keeps doing broadcaster voice.
You're not narrating this. You're here.
His only move today.
He talks as if he's like talking over the room.
His only move today is he's sick. He's playing hurt. And so the only joke he's got is the last thing I'll say is going to be said in a ridiculous voice.
Thank you.
And so before everyone ends this segment, and before Greg Cote ruins the rest of what we have going, the thing I wanted to ask all of you, because I know some of you are gambling, you guys are doing prop bet stuff. Do you think that we could come up with a new segment that, because of the people around here who are gambling, every week somebody in our group is going to have the worst bad beat? I bring this up for a reason, okay? Because the over-under on the number for David Montgomery in Detroit rushing yards this season was 775.5 yards. And he got to 775. And then his knee blew up.
No way.
And so he got there easily. Like it would have been an easy winning bet because the Lions were going to be overwhelming at running the ball and are even more overwhelming than you thought they'd be. But he got within a half yard and then his knee blew out. All he needed is one more play for a half yard and he would have gotten it. Do you think that we'd have enough bad beats around here? I know Mike is throwing down so many prop bets as it can't be healthy, the amount of prop betting that Mike Ryan is doing because
I think I do a healthy amount.
He's finding a lot of advantages. Look, Billy's pretty good at the prop bets too. There is some money to be found around prop bets if you know a little bit about systems and matchups and stuff. There's money to be made. Do you have a bad beat every weekend?
Yeah. Yeah. A volume shooter on the props. I'd go for the bigger paydays. And then I have one that makes me like about even on the weekend. I'm like, man, how much fun was had? That was so much fun.
I have lost either 4 or 5 times this season. I have Patrick Mahomes rushing yards. I get the over. I have the over. And then he kneels down 3 times at the end of the game and I lose my over.
I came a catch short on Davante Adams because I was just like, last game of the regular season, potentially Aaron Rodgers' last game ever. He's just going to go out feeding Davante Adams. So I took every over and I juiced up the receptions and I got it up to 6.5 and I hit literally 7 of 8 legs and I just needed one catch. But that doesn't even land on me. I need that to feel alive.
Lucy, you felt alive on the field at the University of Texas. I saw you. You were radiant. You were glowing.
Yeah, Ricky Williams and I are best friends now. Well, not exactly. I said, oh, Ricky, isn't it so great that we've become good friends? And he didn't respond. But I think he meant yes.
How high did you get with him?
I did not. I'm a professional media member that wasn't credentialed. So Dan overwent the system and then brought Ricky Williams. And it was really cool, but we'll never be allowed back at Texas.
Yeah, that one kind of backfired on me.
But I had so much fun.
Do we have Ricky sneak Lucy in?
Yeah.
It wasn't very sneaky, though. Someone for security came up and was like, hey, you don't have a pass. Are you with Ricky Williams? And I said, yep. They go, okay, that's fine.
I mean, he did sort of say, have I not done enough for these people? The field's named after him.
Yeah, sure thing. Hey, you sold that car yet?
Yeah, sold it to Carvana.
Oh, I thought you were selling to that guy.
The guy who wanted to pay me in foreign currency, no interest, over 36 months? Yeah, no. Carvana gave me an offer in minutes, picked it up, and paid me on the spot. It was so convenient.
Just like that.
Yep.
No hassle.
None.
That is super convenient.
Sell your car to Carvana and swap hassle for convenience. Pickup fees may apply.
Okay, guys, it says here I'm supposed to tell you about the refreshing tropical lime flavor of Mountain Dew Baja Blast. But what does refreshing tropical lime mean exactly? Allow me to describe it in a way that my fellow DraftKings players will understand. Mountain Dew Baja Blast tastes like a buzzer-beating three-pointer to cover the spread, nailing a multi-leg parlay, setting the perfect daily fantasy lineup. It's like hitting an underdog money line. And I want you to know that feeling too. So make your picks and then grab some tropical lime flavored Mountain Dew Baja Blast for you and your buds. Available wherever refreshing beverages are sold.